we go.
Okay. So, a couple of knee exercises that I really like using with my athletes. First one uses a TheraBand, stretchy band. I'm just going to put it just below the kneecaps. And so I'm going to get Sophie to make her feet just a little bit wider, just so there's a little bit of pressure outwards on the band. Okay. I'm going to get Sophie to do some squats. Now, if there's a lot of restriction in range of movement, then I'll often get the person squatting down to a box or even to a chair, something like that, just to take out that bottom range. So we're not having to worry about that. But if somebody's got a good range and they're okay with this movement, then we'll just do the normal squat, but with the band. And this is going to help to engage some of the hip muscles a bit more. That's it. And people very often feel there's a different pressure on the knee and then come back up. So you're just going to go down and up for me. And we're going to do about 6 of these. That's it. Keep that pressure outwards on the band. Excellent. That's the one. And rest there. And the important thing with any of these exercises is you shouldn't be getting any pain with them. A little bit of mild discomfort, I'm not too worried about, but if it's more than that, if there's any sharp pain, or if it feels wrong in any way, then stop and get that checked out. Okay. Let's moving on.
So these are all for like, this is off.
Yeah,
so there's like for stability with the knees and stuff.
So this is a general one that I will use for knee strength. I'll use this with a range of different conditions. So whether it's the meniscus or the ligament or pain at the front of the knee, the kneecap, patellofemoral. I find that this is a good one just to get that knee moving and to get, like I said, because you're using all the leg muscles, you've got the quadriceps, the hamstrings, and you're also sort of engaging the hip muscles as well. So it's quite a good way of getting them moving, getting the muscles working. And it's that movement that a lot of the time is what's going to lay the foundation for that next stage of strength conditioning and rehab as well.
Yeah, perfect. Okay.
So if I take the band off you, so the next one, while we've got the band, is again these are really useful to have.
If we're doing anything on the floor, because we're probably going to have it. That's probably maybe get your tripod out for that then.
Okay.
We can be at a level then as well.
We'll do a couple more stood up. Okay. So with these bands, you can pick them up really easily. eBay or Amazon, and just look up TheraBand. Get a couple of lengths of that in various different colours. They're not that expensive and they're really handy to have around. So I recommend doing that. So if I get you just take one leg back. So which leg are we working on here?
So it's this knee.
So it's the right leg. So you're going to step back with the right leg, like you're in a short stance. I'm just going to take that band around the back of the knee. Now all you're going to do is you're going to drop the knee towards me. So just come up onto the ball of the foot. That's it. Let the knee bend. There you go. Now you're going to straighten that leg against the band. That's it. There we go. And then just let it bend. That's it. And back up. There we go. So you're straightening it against a little bit of resistance. It shouldn't feel too hard, but again, this is a really good one. I like this one a lot with where there's pain at the front of the knee, around the kneecap. This is often quite a good exercise for settling that down. Again, providing it doesn't actually cause pain. If it's flaring symptoms up, then we need to back off and look at that again.
Right.
That's the one. A few more of those. Excellent. And rest there. So with these rehab exercises, I think the important thing is always to look for that Goldilocks zone. So we want to be doing enough, not too much and not too little. Now, generally speaking, the more severe the injury is, the smaller that Goldilocks zone gets. And we need to be in the right place with it. So we need to be sensitive to loading things enough to get a response, but not so much that we're going to flare the symptoms up. And that's a matter of getting people listening to their bodies. So what I always say to people is, I want you to do 2 sets of this, but how long a set is will depend on you. And I want you to look for that point where you feel like done something, feels like you've worked, but not so much that you couldn't do another couple more. Okay. So again, you should be starting to feel tired by the end of the set, but I want you to have good form throughout. Now, if at any point the pain starts getting worse as you're doing these, then that's the point to stop that set. Generally speaking, if it's a bit sore at the beginning, and then that stays the same or tails off a little bit as the set goes on, that's great. That's what we're looking for. Like I say, if it's okay to start with and then starts getting worse, that's the point we want to cut that short. Now, it doesn't mean we're not going to go back to it, but we don't want to overdo it. And again, it's always that judgment call. We're looking for a little bit of mild discomfort is okay, not too much. And that's the important distinction to make with all of this. So what I'll generally move on to then is a static lunge. And I really like these. I think these are great for hips, for knees, for lower backs, use them for ankles, everything. So what I usually do with these, I'll start in a half kneeling position here. And I'm looking for a 90-degree angle at the front leg and a 90-degree angle at the back leg as well, back up straight. What people will want to do is I want to creep that front leg in and lean over the front knee. Yeah, I don't want that. So I'm looking for keeping that angle there, and then the head's going to go straight up to the ceiling. A lot of people will find this harder than it looks the first time. So you're looking going down and up. Ideally, you want a bit of a stretch on that back thigh as you get to the bottom position there. That's a bit of a hip flexor stretch. So the idea is I'm pushing that hip forwards and tensing the glute a little bit. So I don't want to be this position. I'm absolutely there. You just touch that bottom leg, bottom knee to the floor, up and down.
Is this working both knees?
So I am working both legs with this.
Right.
And the great thing with this exercise is it's a unilateral exercise.
Yeah.
So this replicates a lot of positions that people are going to find themselves in. Not precisely, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, people are going to be in different stances and things like that.
Yeah.
But this is a good way of working both legs and getting that slightly different movement pattern on the front leg and the back leg.
Yeah.
Like I say, obviously, if you're looking wrestling, you're shooting, or for a lot of different situations in combat sports, you're going to end up in different situations like that. Let's have a go at that, and then we'll see where we are. That's it. Yeah. So again, you're looking for that 90-degree at the back knee, 90-degree at the front leg, keeping that back nice and straight. That's it. Extending that hip. A lot of people will want to bend that hip forwards. Yes. Yeah. So we're trying to counter that just for the purposes of the exercise. Yeah. That's it. Then you're going to lift up. That's the one. And down again. Excellent. That's it. And then just, if you can, just try and sit back slightly on the back leg. And that makes it a bit more challenging. It's we try and get people. I want to get people loading both legs equally. So sort of about 50% on the front leg, 50% on the back leg.
Okay. Actually, I know what it looks like.
It is hard when it looks. People always say to me, it shouldn't be that hard. That's it. And the great thing with this one is it's very easy to add weight. Okay. So I can get people to want to add weight. You can add just a weight there. You can have a dumbbell in each hand, you can have a bar across your back. Or my absolute favourite is overhead in the backhand.
Okay.
This is a really good.
Yeah.
And you can, like I say, you can turn this into part of a strength program really easily. Yeah. Again, you're getting that extension through the shoulder, the overhead work.
Awesome.
Do you want to have a quick go at that?
Yeah. Sure. And I'm going to do it on this side.
Yeah.
So I'll start in the same position.
That's it. That's it. Really lock that out. There we go. Yes. That's the one. So again, this is one of my favourite things to work with my athletes.
Yeah. That's great.
That's it. And then if you can, just touch the knee really lightly when you go down. So the next stage is that's it. So you're not resting at the bottom.
Okay.
It's just that's it. It's just a touch. Excellent. Fantastic. And one more.
So it's good that, because so I'm making those little mistakes that people will make, so it's good that then you can correct it, isn't it? Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of really easy stuff like this that I find it's great for just getting people moving well. And I think that's the big thing. So rather than, I mean, the more athletes I see, the more I'm moving away from getting too focused on really precise biomechanics.
Okay.
And the more I'm looking at overall, so looking at how do I want to put this? It's very easy to misinterpret it.
Okay.
It's what I want to look at really is getting them moving well for their body type.
Okay.
And that's not always going to be the same for every individual.
Right.
So
talk about functional movement
yes,
patterns.
yeah.
But they don't look exactly the same.
This is it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, the thing is, for example, going back 5-10 years, it was really trendy to talk about valgus knee. So people dropping the knee inwards.
Yeah.
And this was a bad thing, and we spend lots of time trying to correct a valgus knee.
Yeah.
And then you look at a lot of top level athletes who have no knee problems at all, and you see what they're doing in slow motion, and they're doing the exact same thing.
Okay.
It's like, well, why are some people getting problems from this and other people aren't? And there's a lot of debate over this in the physio world at the moment, and the extent to which biomechanics matter in terms of pain.
Okay.
I think one of the take-home messages that I've picked up from all of it is that actually, if you're working a range of movement patterns, so people are able to move in a variety of different planes, in a variety of different ways, under a variety of different loads as well.
Yeah.
So they've got the strength and the versatility to do that.
Yeah.
They are less likely to get problems than somebody who's very restricted, who can only move in one way.
Yeah. And or does like the strength condition or the exercise in one way.
That's it. So the way I look at it a lot of the time is we're showing people variations.
Yeah.
So it's not that you must always move in this way.
Yeah.
It's giving you the ability to do that.
Yeah.
And it's widening your movement vocabulary.
Okay.
So with this movement, I mean, for example, with this lunge, it's not saying that you must always have a 90-degree angle at the front leg and a 90-degree angle at the back leg, because when you're going for double leg takedown, it doesn't look anything like that. It's going to be you're going to move relevant to the situation. But we're giving you the ability to do that.
Right.
And the fact that a lot of people find that hard is maybe an indication that they're not as strong in certain directions as they could be.
Yeah.
And by improving that strength, it gives them a wider range of options. So when they get on the mat or in the ring or wherever they're competing, they have the ability to move in more different ways.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So I know we're going off a little bit off topic now, but for example, judo, we spend a lot of the time planting and twisting, and so a lot of this side movement, a lot of rotational movement that not all sports have, and you do that under load and pressure.
Absolutely.
So is there anything maybe to strengthen in these sort of, or to look after our knees in these sort of directions?
Yeah. So with this kind of sport, I'll do a lot of dynamic movements, and again, it depends on the needs of the person who comes to me, and I'll do an assessment. I'll see how they're moving. I'll see what they're struggling with as well, because a lot of the time people will come to me and they'll say, I'm having problems with this movement in particular, or I can't do this particular thing, and that gives me a big clue as to, okay, well, that's what we need to work on, and then we can look at breaking that down. But some of the dynamic things I'll do is I'll actually get people doing jumps a lot of the time, because one thing you see is that people are fine while they're moving statically. Even under a load, they can have no pain at all when they're moving statically. As soon as they start running or something like that, then it hurts, and they get problems. So one of the things I'll look at is I'll get people, sometimes, even in the relatively early stages, building up that dynamic movement. So what I'll do is I'll get people just doing a squat, down and up, Yeah, and then I'll get them doing squat down, coming up onto their toes and down. So, and then we can put those together, and then we can get them to start coming slightly up and soft landing. And I'll really focus on the landing, because I think a lot of the time that can be the problem. The absorbing the force, and the fact that sometimes when you look at people at how they land, it's a bit, and when you're doing that repeatedly, for example, I mean, even if you, because a lot of combat sports athletes will run, whether for weight management or as part of their training, and if you're doing that a lot of the time, that's where your knee injuries can come from. I've seen that numerous times. People are fine with the training they do for the sport. As soon as they start putting the runs in to cut the weight,
because when it's quite technical and it sounds.
That's it. And again, if you're used to doing judo barefoot on a mat, and then you suddenly go out running, and it's a whole different set of biomechanics, that's often where the problems can come in. And also, because a lot of the time you see people go from not running, and then they've got a competition coming up and they suddenly start doing lots of it. It's the old problem of too much too soon. So that's one of the things I try and get my athletes sort of monitoring their loads and say, well, look, if you're going to do loads of running, you need to be doing some consistently, so that you're not suddenly going from nothing to everything. But yeah, I mean, we'll definitely look at the biomechanics, or the ability to absorb force on the landing. I think is a crucial thing that gets neglected a lot. So we have a look at that. So if I get you just in a squat position, that's it. Yeah. In fact, once we get you doing this way, facing the camera. So you're just going to start by just doing a few squats and just coming out to straight. That's it. So you've got that. That's it.
And even when I'm doing this, I need to concentrate, because I do feel this knee coming in a little bit, so I do have to just concentrate.
That's it. And as much as anything else, it's about engaging your hips.
Okay.
As you're coming up.
Yeah. Okay. Making sure
That's
that
it.
Squeeze from the.
Yeah. So what I'll then get people doing is just trying to relax into it a little bit and just get that triple extension. So you're getting that coming up onto your toes as you come up. That's it. That's it. Just keep looking forwards. That's the one. Excellent. And then just rest there for a second. So on the next set, I want you just coming off the floor, but only slightly. Yeah. That's it. Okay, and then stop there. So what we're now going to think about is we're going to think about landing.
Okay.
So feet are designed to absorb force. So if you look at the biomechanics of a foot and how it's structured, it's set up in order to enable you to control that landing and to land softly. Okay. So what we're looking at is, as you're coming down, landing on the ball of the foot first, and then slowing that descent between the ball of the foot making contact and the heels going down. So the heels are going to go down, and then the hips are going to go back, and the knees are going to bend. Okay. So that's your movement. Okay. Yeah. So if you do it in slow motion, it's just that reverse squat there. Okay. Yeah. But we're looking at slowing that down. So as you're landing, it's that all the muscles are going to work eccentrically. Yeah.
Okay. So same sort of go.
Yeah. So that's it. Yes. There we go. And again, sometimes I'll even you might benefit from focusing on just that calf raise element.
Okay.
And just being able to, controlling that up and down movement. Yeah. What I'll sometimes get people doing is working on the edge of a box. And so we're going to go and do calf raises off the edge of the box. So you're dropping your heels. Ooh. I'll often get them holding on to something.
Yeah.
Especially if they've got an ankle injury.
Yeah. Okay.
And then what you can do is you can get them coming up on 2 feet, and then down on 1 foot. So you're loading it more eccentrically.
Right.
Yeah. Do you want to have a quick go at that?
Yeah, there we go.
That's it. Yeah. So if you need a bit of support, just hand. That's the one.
Okay, so going
That's it.
up and
Up on 2. That's it. Just do a few like that. There we go.
So you want to drop the heels just
Drop the heels slightly. That's it. So you're going slightly past
Yeah.
90 degrees. So again, it's an ankle mobility
Okay. Yeah.
exercise, but it means you're loading the calves into a bit of dorsiflexion.
Yeah. Okay.
So, here we go. And then let's try going up on 2, and then take 1 foot away, and then lower yourself down slowly. That's it.
Yeah, with this.
That's it.
And then back onto
And then back on 2. There we go. So go up. That's it. This way. Lower yourself. That's it. Yes.
Okay.
That's the one.
Okay.
And you can do this at the bottom step of a staircase.
Yeah.
It's really easy.
So on to
You might find often people find it easier with shoes on.
Okay.
Because it's that's it. Yeah. There we go. And then and again you can add load to it. Dumbbell. Both hands. One hand. You can change it up. But this is a good way of you're working the calf muscles, so it's the ability to control the ankle movement, and specifically to control it eccentrically as well. So again, that's all about that absorption of force, and also again the foot muscles as well, which often get neglected. I think. So one of the things I find a lot with knee problems actually is that these days we tend not to use our feet, and this was the whole thing with the barefoot running. That again, the problem is it became trendy, and everyone started. It became a thing, and people were looking at it without really thinking too much. But there is a good point in there somewhere that, like I say, got buried under all the hype, which is that a lot of the time we don't use our foot muscles. Right? And this is really relevant to people competing in a sport where you're barefoot. Right? Because you need to be able to use those muscles. And one of the things is when we go around in our everyday life, or if you go out running and you buy a pair of trainers with a load of cushioning in, it's like when you do all your deadlifts with a back belt on. Now, if you want to set a world powerlifting record, then absolutely you wear a back belt. If your only goal is to lift as much weight as you possibly can, then that's completely appropriate. But if you do all your lifting wearing a back support, then all you're doing is you're making sure that your legs are strong enough to rip your back apart when you pick something up without one. And it's like I said, it's the same with foot muscles. If all you're running, if you're spending most of your time in padded shoes that are controlling that foot movement, your foot muscles aren't being loaded. They're not getting that workout. And then what you tend to find is when you put that person in a situation where they've not got that, whether they're on a judo mat or wherever else, that's when you tend to see problems. So I think doing some foot muscle work is actually quite important. So if we go back to what we were looking at a minute ago, so we'll go back to the landings. So what we can do is, I'm taking you quickly through the sequence. I'd normally have people working on each of these for a period of time, and then once they've got that, we'll move on to the next thing. Then what we can do, obviously we can build the height up, so they're trying to control the landing from a greater height. Doing this on floorboards, the noisier the better is great, because it really makes people focus on landing quietly. What we'll do then is we'll get people 2 foot takeoff to 1 foot landing. So we'll have a go at that. I'll get you to go. So again, it doesn't need to be a big jump with this. You're just going to jump, land on 1 foot, and then stick that landing. So it's a bit of a balance at the end.
Yeah.
That's it, yes. And it's harder than you think as well.
Yeah.
That's it. Excellent.
Oh, that's good,
There we go. That's it, and you can see how it's harder one side than the other, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So again, I mean, that's something that I mean, you can work on that quite a lot. You can start by just stabilising that position.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you go, okay, so I'm going to hit that landing.
Yeah.
And it's, like I say, it's not an easy thing to do. And it's not that you would ever have to do that specifically, but if you can do that, it gives you that extra confidence. And again, it's looking at proprioception around the knee, around the hip. And then what we can start doing, going on to the next stage, again, this is a really quick tour of this, is I'll get people taking off 90-degree turn, 1 foot landing.
Yeah.
So you're going to try and go, and then try and stick it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, you're having to land with that element of rotation and stabilise the knee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have a quick go at that one for me.
Okay. So.
That's it. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Very nice. Now let's see the difficult side.
I thought I got away with it then. I don't know.
Nice. That's good. Excellent.
I think when I concentrate,
Yeah.
it does help, doesn't it?
And then, if we want to make that harder, we can go 1 foot to 1 foot. We can go 1 foot to the opposite foot.
Okay.
You can mix all these things up. So you've got loads of little drills here.
Yeah, so you go.
That's it. Yeah.
So
That's it.
just
it back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you can go 1 foot to the same foot.
Okay.
And then what we can do is we can get people doing, I mean, we get the hurdles out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Start with 2.
Mm-hmm.
So then you'd go.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to get that soft landing in between.
So I mean, to start, what I would get people doing to start with is just. Edit that one. I haven't practiced these for a while.
Yeah, I've still done.
Stick,
Yeah.
and then again. So they're having to stick it in between each one.
Yeah.
And that's actually harder sometimes
Yeah, then just bouncing.
than just bouncing.
Yeah.
To get that good landing.
Yeah.
And then you can get them doing the bounce.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're going to go and twice. And
That was
that's
like
it.
really quite a heavy landing there, wasn't it?
So that would be the thing to focus on.
Yeah.
is getting that landing
Yeah.
really, really soft. That's it. And then you can go 2 feet to 2 feet to 1 foot,
Okay.
2 feet to 1 foot to 1 foot,
Yeah.
2 feet to 1 foot to the opposite foot. So all of a sudden you've got a whole range of drills you can get people doing. And again, which ones you pick will depend on what that person needs.
Yeah, and how far. I guess
And
this is. It feels like, you know, if they're carrying
Yeah.
a reasonably, you know, this is quite advanced. isn't
Yes,
it?
so I wouldn't start here.
No.
So I'm showing you the progression.
Yeah.
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 So what I would, like I said, the place I usually start with the dynamic stuff. And again, the problem you see with a lot of traditional physiotherapy is that they'll focus on getting people back to walking around, doing things. And then all of a sudden there's a jump to doing the dynamic stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what happens to that bit in the middle?
Yeah.
And for me, a large part of my job is that bit in the middle,
Yeah.
you know, between one thing and something else.
Yeah.
So between rehab and strength and conditioning, or
Okay.
between, you know, being static and being dynamic, and how do we break that down into small chunks? And like I said, the thing that I find the best with that is just that getting people doing that triple extension, but without coming off the floor. And then, like I say, you could start with a very small. I mean, there's one lad that I'm working with at the moment. He motorcycle accident. He rides motocross, and he's got a metal rod down his leg, basically. He fractured his femur. And the difficulty he was having was we got him moving around. It's fine, but anything dynamic, anything involved running or anything like that, he just couldn't do it at all. And it's like, well, how are we going to sort of bridge the gap? And so he started looking at a lot of these, you know, how can we, and then we'd go from stepping, and step and stick, and then push, step, stick, and push. And then you make that bigger, and then you can put another one on, and then you build it up from there. So again, it's taking the difficult thing and making it smaller, and saying, because we can do this. Okay, go a bit further. Okay, go a bit further. At what point does that become a problem? And then you work that point. And that's so. In terms of getting people who have a sticking point, that's where I like to work. I mean, that's what I find. That's the really interesting bit about this job. Is finding those sticking points. And sort of finding, okay, how can we work this? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's cool.
Where were we? Let's do some hip bridges.
Not like that.
Okay, cool. Shut me up video.
We're doing it like we're just running it and then we'll edit it afterwards. I'm just gonna pause it just a second.
Cool.
Some little bit.